was working at Apple at the time, and the price of Bitcoin just kept going up and up and up. It originally started as a wallet, but Backpack is this much more.
Do you think we're going to see 1 billion people in crypto? Welcome to another episode of the AltCryptoCast, your altcoin headquarters. Today we've got a very special episode. We're now in Dubai with a very special guest as well. We've got Armani Ferrante, the founder and CEO of Backpack Exchange. Now, Armani, very good to have you. We're honored. Could you give a quick introduction on who you are and perhaps how you got started in crypto as well?
Yeah, so thanks for having me. Super happy to be here. So, who am I? I'm a programmer, a founder. I got started in crypto, I suppose, in 2017. I was sitting in my, my office in Cupertino with a couple other engineers. I was working at Apple at the time, and I distinctly remember that summer, the price of Bitcoin just kept going up and up and up. And one of the engineers in particular was trading with a Discord group the whole summer, and basically one weekend I had lunch with a friend, and he told me about Ethereum in addition to Bitcoin. And so I went to a Phil's Coffee the next day. I remember sitting on Market Street. I was sitting in the coffee shop. I read the Ethereum white paper, and I just thought, this is the coolest thing ever. And I basically showed up to my job the next week and decided to jump ship. I had no plans other than I just knew I wanted to work in this crypto thing. The concept of a world computer was just the coolest thing that you can imagine for an engineer in the Bay to be thinking about. And I suppose the rest is history. Yeah.
So you were literally working at Apple. You found out about Ethereum and you said, I'm gone, guys. See you later. And then how did you sort of come up with the Backpack idea? Because it has to sort of come up in a certain way.
Yeah, so Backpack came after a long and windy road in crypto. So I got in 2017, I suppose. And then it wasn't until, I would say, December 2021, January 2022 that, so I'd been working in the Solana ecosystem since 2020, worked on a lot of the early, projects, a lot of early wallet stuff, a lot of early DeFi, a lot of developer tooling. And it was really kind of off the back of the success of that network. And, obviously the price kept going up. We were in another bull run that I decided to, build the company and start figuring out how we can push the industry forward. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go a bit more into the Solana story in a bit, because we're obviously here also with Fritz. He's more of a Solana guy and also more of a tech type of guy. So he's going to ask you some more techie questions later on. Now, I want to do a quick sort of introduction also, because we've got a gift for you. So when we started the podcast, I forgot to wear my shoes. So I had very flashy socks on. And right now we've actually got your Backpack socks. I really like them. But the socks became a thing. So people were replying and saying, oh, they're just chilling in their socks. Very nice. So a gift that we have right now for you, and I should have it, is we had these custom made for you.
Wow. It's got my face
your hair
on
has changed a bit, but I think that's the fun part of it.
This is amazing. Thank you. That's too kind of you. Yeah, this is awesome.
It's a little sort of branded idea. And, it's a limited edition. Your hair has changed though.
Yeah, I don't know if I could confidently wear these, but I think I could give them to my wife and force her to wear them and see what happens there. Yeah, I think she'll quickly throw them away, or throw them at me.
This is how you look like.
This is awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, we are now in Dubai. We're here during Token2049, obviously. You can hear it in my voice. You said it when we started here as well. It's action-packed. There's a lot of events, usually loud music as well. What is your opinion on Token? What do you think of the week here? You like it here?
Yeah, I think Token was definitely super interesting. Ultimately, these conferences are about the people coming together. The conference is cool. It's always nice to have good conversations, hear people to talk. But it's all about these side events, podcasts with you, meeting people one-on-one, catching up with old friends and colleagues. We've got an office here, so it's been great to see the team, and it's always good to come out here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We went to the Backpack event yesterday, obviously, and it's just good to see that you can talk to like-minded people, you can talk to partners. So I appreciate that. All right, now Fritz has got a couple questions for you, a bit more on the backside of what you've been doing. So I'm gonna give it to Fritz.
Yeah, so it was interesting. So you just came from, or not just, but you came from Apple into crypto. What was the first things that you started building and learning?
I mean, I think the first thing was just really understanding what the heck was going on. I think at the time, the whole like concept of this, virtual machine that was programmable and run by anyone and owned by no one was like a really foreign concept.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of, like fuzziness in terms of like what exactly is being built here. I think the underlying primitives were like well understood. It's like, okay, you have like some interpreter or some compiler thing. You have some programming language. You have some concept of, computes. But like, I think at the time people were really, really wrestling with not only, what are smart contracts, but also how do you make these things scale and go fast?
Yeah.
And I think that was really kind of the story starting in 2017 when we had that enormous bull cycle where, I mean, for me, it was all about Ethereum. And I think quickly people obviously realized that there needed to be a lot more R&D put into the space.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's kind of been the story over the past, I don't know, 7-8 years, where you've had all these different L1s, Solana, Sui, Monad, Ethereum went down their L2 roll-up roadmap. You've had all these awesome L2s emerge, Arbitrum, Base, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And I think at the time it was really all about solving hard technical problems that could unlock creativity, unlock founders, unlock builders to build, their vision.
Yeah.
And I think today we're kind of on the cusp of kind of new kind of applications as a result. But back then it was really, about kind of solving those hard kind of engineering problems so that we could even think about building applications at scale on these kind of distributed networks.
Yeah. Did you also solve like very difficult problems during your time?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the first things that I got really interested in was like L2s in like 2017, 2018.
Oh, it's early.
So this was like before, roll-ups really when like state channels and the plasma conversation was really kind of at the forefront.
Yeah.
And so I started working on state channels a bit, got really interested with that, and then very quickly got really kind of excited about alternative L1 architectures. And I think that's kind of what ultimately led me into Solana and kind of where we are today.
Yeah. And your entry into Solana, like how did you transition from being in E to the Solana ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, the Solana story is a long and complicated one. So, I mean, that goes back to January of 2018. So my first job was not actually working in like Ethereum. I left my job to go work on open source. I had no real plan. And I got a call from this trading firm in Berkeley, California. That's where I was living at the time and where I went to university. And basically, there were some folks at this trading firm called Alameda Research.
Yeah.
And which is crazy to think about now.
Yeah.
But basically, worked there for about 3 months, January, February, March 2018. This is before FTX was even a thing.
Yeah.
And met those folks over there kind of when they were first starting out. And then, I mean, I very quickly left because that just wasn't why I left, my original job. I really was interested in working on, more crypto native infrastructure, and, spent the next couple of years working on, various L1s and working on, whatever kind of caught my kind of interest in crypto.
Yeah.
And then in 2020, basically when those guys started getting involved with Solana, namely when they invested, a bunch into it, they called me up again and said, hey, I know you don't want to work on this, in the trading firm or whatever.
Yeah.
But why don't you check out the Solana thing? And so I checked it out, met some folks over there, found it super compelling. And I mean, at the time, there was like Serum was being built and all the early stuff and Solana was being built. And so that's how I got reeled back into the Solana ecosystem, as crazy as it sounds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you call yourself a Solana degen as well?
Solana degen, I mean, you've got to be a Solana degen if you're in it this long, yeah.
Nice.
Do you still trade actually, or is it, you know?
I mean,
Do you active? I mean, obviously, not. I understand you don't do it actively, but do you still do some trading? I
yeah,
mean,
there's different types of trading, right? So I wouldn't say I do a ton of like
Solana
meme
degen?
coin degenning. I don't do a lot of that.
yeah,
Really, the trading I do now is really any trading associated with our product,
yeah,
because you have to, be an expert in your product to make a great product, right?
Yeah.
And so I do a lot of trading, really just through the exchange,
Yeah.
trading like Bitcoin and
Yeah.
things like that. Where for me, it's really all about understanding the user,
yeah,
understanding the product, and trying to build something great. And you can't do that unless
Yeah.
you're your own user.
yeah. It's interesting that you say that, because yesterday we spoke to someone at your event, and they were saying that it's actually crazy to think that whenever you guys have a problem, I can't remember how he said it specifically, but he said something like, if there's a problem that's a kind of hard problem, you are the one that's going to fix it. And then I mean also tech-wise, so coding-wise or issue-wise. And it's crazy to think that you're a CEO of such a company, and then you still sort of like to do the actual problem-solving bit of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would call myself more of a glorified spokesperson for the engineering team. I think we have a lot of really incredible engineers that really are the people doing the magic behind the scenes. I definitely am quite involved, but they're the ones doing the real hard work.
Yeah.
I think I have more of like a high level kind of view of what's going on. I understand, like, and I try to get in and solve problems, try to prioritize things. But yeah, you gotta give the real credit to the engineering team and all the hard work that they're doing. It's no joke running a 24/7 crypto exchange.
No, I
and
get it.
they're the ones that carry a lot of the burden.
Yeah, yeah. There was also a sort of a saying that whenever another company or an exchange does something in 6 to 7 steps, you're saying we need to do this in 3 steps or 4 steps. I mean, how does that work? Is it also the combination of the fact that you worked at Apple, perhaps? Because Apple's also a bit more on the brand, a bit more simplistic, a bit more easy going.
Yeah.
Is that a bit,
I mean, there's a
would you
couple
say
things
that?
there. I mean, I think one of the things that I really loved about Apple was just the cultural component.
Yeah.
I think all of their historical marketing campaigns really represented a lot of, that kind of human element of technology and the cultural element, as much as, getting deep into the weeds of the tech itself.
Yeah.
And I've always felt that crypto has been as much of a social movement as it is a technological movement. And so, I mean, I like to think with like Backpack and with Mad Lads and with everything that we do, we kind of try to think about both sides at the same time. And I think that's reflective into the brand and in the marketing, but also in the product, as you said. And I think, crypto has always just been so complex. It's always been really engineers building for other engineers.
Yeah.
And, complexity is just the enemy of any great product.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to crypto exchanges, it's a lot.
Yeah.
When it comes to wallets, it's a lot. When it comes to any part of the user experience, for any decentralized application, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And so I really think that wrangling complexity and building great products is ultimately, a very long process of a lot of small but boring and important things. And, just because something works and it's live doesn't mean that, it's done or finished. And it's a long process to, remove those steps and make something great.
Yeah. And I also like the fact that you're saying that if you have a product, you need to be an expert in the product itself. I think that's a very good way to go at it. One thing I was curious about is how did you come up with the backpack part? Because we really like the branding of it, and we like the logo, the style of it. But can you remember how you cut up with the backpack idea?
So the name Backpack really came out of MMORPGs. So
Wow.
there's I played a ton of World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
A bunch of people played a bunch of RuneScape.
Yeah.
But
I
you
played a lot of
you
RuneScape.
have your backpack is your inventory.
Yeah.
It's the thing that carries everything in the game. Whether it's your gold, whether it's your mount, whether it's your gear, whether it's a quest item, everything goes into your backpack as you play the game or whatever. And I think we originally started as a wallet, but backpack is this much more elegant metaphor.
Yeah.
Where if I pull out my wallet right now, right? It's small, right? It's like I got my ID in here, my cards. I don't even have cash in here because it's too small, right? You can't fit much in a wallet, right? But if you bring your backpack somewhere, you could go on an adventure, right? You can fit anything in your backpack, no matter where you go, no matter what you're doing. You always bring your backpack, and so it's a really nice metaphor for something that's much more than just a wallet, and that's always been what we've been trying to build.
Yeah, I didn't know. That was the idea behind it. I like it.
Yeah. How did you guys change from like more being a wallet towards like backpack? And did you also like fully build the whole exchange from scratch?
Oh yeah. So definitely built the whole exchange from scratch. So the story was really the story of FTX, honestly. So I'm not a crazy person, but when FTX collapsed, my first instinct was not to build an exchange. My first instinct was to, for other people to build exchanges. Like somebody should go build a new version of FTX or Coinbase or whatever, and there's a super kind of clear hole in the market and a need. And basically we got a couple months in post collapse, and it became really clear to me that everybody that was trying really didn't know kind of what made it special. Yeah. And it's this huge kind of undertaking, and eventually we kind of just said fuck it, and we'll do it ourselves.
We felt like t-shirt.
we felt like we had the know-how. We felt like we had the right people, the right team to do it, and so I think there was a couple kind of really important pieces that came into place. Folks that we teamed up with and partnered with, and really were able to unlock kind of, I think, what made exchanges special and difficult. Yeah. And but yeah, it was not my first instinct, but the exchange really came out of just a very clear need that the world needed, a crypto native, crypto exchange that they can trust.
Yeah, and I think also like we often talk when we're trading, like, hey, we need something like FTX with the unified trading, and you can place any collateral. Yeah. Will it also be possible, or is it also possible with Backpack?
Yeah, that's possible today. You can deposit your Bitcoin in Backpack right now. You can use that Bitcoin to go to buy Sol on the spot margin, and then you can use that Sol to withdraw USDC. It's a fully cross-collateralized, cross-margin, sub-account based perp spot margin bar lending system all in one. So I would like to think that we took a lot of what made a lot of the exchange special, whether it's Bybit or FTX or Binance or whatever, added our own flavor to it, with a lot of inspiration from DeFi, and out came kind of the Backpack exchange and that kind of product design.
That's and in that process, like when it started to happen, did you also get a lot of the know-how from people that worked with FTX to Backpack to help you guys out?
Yeah, there's definitely different folks on the team with different skill sets. So I think on the engineering side, there wasn't really anybody from FTX. We built the whole kind of exchange fully from scratch. I think our CTO Tom is kind of really responsible for a lot of that stuff. He's incredible. We kind of thought about the product and the actual exchange infrastructure, I think, in a very different first principled way. Very much with a lot of inspiration from like blockchains in particular, to really reimagine how you can build one of these systems in a way that's not just safe, not just has a great product, but also in a way that's can be trust minimized in a meaningful way. And so I think that was something that you really don't want to take anything from FTX because they did the exact opposite of that.
You don't want to copy them.
So we were very intentional about how we built it. There's definitely, a bunch of folks on the team, Kansan maybe being the most prominent one, who obviously he was at FTX and I think obviously he kind of knows the whole like legal side of things better than anyone on the planet. And so he's really just been honestly like a huge kind of a reason for a lot of our success, I think. And so there's a bunch of folks on the team that I think are each have their own kind of I guess experiences. And the weird thing about an exchange, honestly, it's this weird mix of heterogeneous people and skills from different professions, from different backgrounds, from different parts of the world. And you can't just have like, 5, product engineers sitting in Silicon Valley and build one of these things. I think it's really a unique business in the sense that you need all sorts of people from all parts of the world with all different skill sets in a way that's, I think, pretty unique to kind of these crypto exchanges.
Yeah. And so obviously Backpack is and Backpack Exchange is a centralized exchange. Solana is the decentralized part. What is your stance on the DEX versus SEC side? Because we got regulations, we got institutions these days, and some people are saying, this is the exact way that we need to go to, but the other ones are saying absolutely not. And then we got some other ones saying you have to go in between. What's your opinion on the centralized, decentralized part of it in crypto?
I think it's a false dichotomy.
Yeah.
Where the people that are saying this are really, they're either not thinking about these things from first principles or it's like a marketing gimmick and they're just like looking for an enemy to grasp onto. I think the reason, or one of the reasons why this conversation is positioned this way is because they call them exchanges.
Yeah.
An exchange is far too of a monolithic term for what a centralized exchange is. A centralized exchange is much more than just, trading crypto, although that is an important component of it. I think there's a big part is just the identity component, right? You have a place where you can KYC, and KYC is, depending on who you ask good, depending on who you ask bad. But I think nobody thinks that financial institutions are going anywhere. Nobody thinks that like the banking system's going anywhere. Stocks and bonds and equities are not going anywhere, right? And that's where a lot of the value is in the real world. In various different parts of the world have very different kind of rules and regulations and requirements, and so that identity component is really important if you want to actually have a broker dealer or a brokerage and be able to offer stocks to people. And not just crypto tokens or meme tokens. Well, it turns out you need a lot of this stuff, right? And you can just keep going down the line when thinking about the product. You could talk about it in the context of equities. You can talk about it in the context of treasuries. You could talk about it in the context of we just opened up our fiat on and off ramps to the public like yesterday, I think. And these types of things all require one of these core primitives that centralized exchanges offer. And it's not just about trading crypto. I think then, there's obviously the trading component. And I think when you think about things like margin systems in particular, margin systems are unique in that the main risk, or in my view, the main risk is not custody. The main risk is, not to be redundant, it's risk management, right? It's leverage. And that ultimately requires a team of people to monitor it, to manage it, and to configure it. And it just takes one malicious or irresponsible person on the risk team to do something as catastrophic as, say, the Bybit hack, right? Where you just configure a parameter wrong and you could have a run on the bank. And the really subtle part of the conversation is that bankruptcy for a margin system, it's a valid state transition, whether it's the CME, whether it's Coinbase, whether it's Bybit or Backpack. And so when thinking about margin systems, centralized exchanges tend to be superb at that.
Yeah.
And even if you take a look at the most recent like decentralized margin exchanges like Hyperliquid, it started as a centralized exchange. Sure, they called themselves the decentralized exchanges, but it started as 3 nodes in a single data center in Tokyo. Now it's like 10 nodes, 15 nodes, still in a single data center in Tokyo. I think the thing that people don't realize is that the way centralized exchanges are built, or at least the smart way to build them, is looks and feels exactly like a blockchain. It's literally like our exchange. It's literally there's literally a global linear log of authenticated transactions. So you sign every single transaction with the key pair, an ED25519 key pair. It's literally and there's a deterministic state machine. You go through to the transactions one by one, and you replicate it across multiple nodes. We run 3. We run 3. So it's like a single leader, 2 backups, and we replicate it. And we have snapshots. We hash the whole state. We sign it. We upload it to a data availability layer. We do it on S3, Amazon, but that's only for privacy reasons, right? And so every deposit, every withdrawal goes through a multi-party computation. There's 3 versions of the matching engine running at any time. 2 of the 3 have to agree before any funds go in and out.
Oh wow!
Is that a blockchain? It for all intents and purposes, it's a blockchain. We don't call it a blockchain because it's not censorship resistant. And I think that is like really the core property that differentiates a centralized exchange versus a decentralized exchange. It's, are you censorship resistant or not? And a centralized exchange by design is censorable because compliance and following the law, I mean, to put it in like a negative way, it's censorship, right? You don't just do whatever you want. That you follow the law censors you, right? And that's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing, but that's just the way to frame it, right? And that's ultimately like what compliance is, right? It's like you admit that you control the thing, and the thing can be censored, and because of that, you need to follow whatever rules and regulations exist in whatever region you're serving users. But purely from a technical point of view, it's the same thing as any a blockchain, right? I mean, there's nuances with like consensus algorithms and stuff like this, but this whole concept of I'm going to put a virtual machine on top of a global linear log is a superficial thing. It's a marketing gimmick as much as it is anything else. I mean, it's not a marketing gimmick in the sense that you can actually build stuff on top of virtual machines and stuff like this. But from a security point of view and from a technical point of view, there's not really a meaningful difference. And so that's really how I like to frame the conversation, is like censorship resistant versus compliance. And we very much have gone the compliance route, not because we think it's better, but because we felt other people were not going down that path. And it's only when you go down that path can you start unlocking a lot of really important parts of the product. I talked about fiat on and off ramps before. I talked about equities and bonds and treasuries before, but even things like recovery are a really good example of the power of this. So one of the products that we're working on is reimagining what wallets look like. I think most of us that are in the industry think that wallets, mostly without exception, maybe there are some exceptions, are more or less completely broken. Billions of dollars, if you believe some of the statistics, I've never verified this, but billions of dollars ostensibly is lost every year to people that lose access to their seed phrases. This recovery problem is really important. And the problem with most solutions to the recovery problem is that they introduce centralization. There's a bunch of technical details here. But it's not until you have this where I can give my mom a wallet and she can lose it, her phone goes into the ocean, and she can like walk to her bank or whatever and say, hey, can I get my money back or whatever. You need to be able to do that. And there's some questions on how you do that in a way that maintains self-custody. I want to address that here, but it turns out you actually can maintain self-custody with this. But the point I'm making, excuse me, is a centralized exchange has your identity. I can actually go and verify, you're Armani or you're, my mom or whatever. Here's your passport. I can actually get you your money back. And it's not just some scammer that's going to do it. And I think there's a lot of these things that the centralized exchange gives you
Yeah.
that, you know, really can solve a lot of these user experience problems, where, you know, we're bringing crypto and all this amazing tech that we've built into kind of the real world.
Yeah.
And I think that's really one of the most exciting things for me for the industry over the next couple of years, is really imbuing kind of all this tech into the fabric of society.
Yeah.
And I think for too long, crypto has kind of been this parallel world,
It's a bit different
so to
as well.
speak.
Yeah.
And I think really merging DeFi and CeFi together in a way such that you really don't know the difference and it's really just finance is very much where we're going. And doing it in a way that preserves what makes crypto special, I think is really where we try to come at it from. And I think where we're trying to kind of contribute to the space more broadly.
Yeah. And so, I mean, looking at Backpack Exchange, the sort of numbers right now, it's relatively new compared to other exchanges of, you know, depending on which one you're going to look at, obviously. I think the last time we checked, you guys were at 650,000, if I'm correct, or nearly 1 million KYC users. So actually got two questions on that. One being, we usually wake up, we check the price. Is the number of users something you wake up in the morning and you open a dashboard and you check, we gained another X amount of users? How does that work? Do you sort of know these numbers, or do you do anything with those?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many things that go into building an exchange. It's really hard to look at a single point in time.
Yeah.
Because like our whole mantra is like brick by brick.
Yeah.
And I mean, where that comes from is you might have made one brick, but you need 1 million bricks to build a house.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And an exchange is very similar. You need to lay so many bricks until you can even get to the starting line and compete at a high level.
Yeah.
And I think really what I think about is growth, right?
Yeah.
And I think like users and daily active traders is an important metric. Open interest is an important metric. Volume is an important metric.
Yeah.
Depth and liquidity is an important metric.
Do you
There's
check
a bunch of those.
Those sort of metrics, do you check them daily?
Yeah. I wake up and I check them immediately.
You wake up and then the first thing you open in the morning is or do you check the price first of Bitcoin?
No, I don't. I mean, I kind of see the price as a result, but I kind of check everything, right? I want to just see like do a temperature check on the product, on the users, on the industry. Wow. You know, did anything explode overnight? You know, did any crazy macro event happen that kind of updated our view of the world? I mean, these things are all important when you're building a global market.
Yeah, for sure. And then we're now at nearly 1 million users. How do you plan to onboard the next 10 million, 100 million, to possibly even 1 billion people to crypto and to Backpack?
I mean, so I think there's a couple things. So I think what makes crypto so unique relative to traditional finance is how borderless it is.
Yeah.
You know, I'm an American. I grew up in California. I spent my whole life there. But I mean, our team, you know, we have a bunch of folks in the US, but we have folks all over the place. I spend a lot, I'm in Dubai, we're in Dubai right now. You know, I spend a lot of time traveling. And really what makes crypto markets so special is bringing and congregating liquidity together from around the world. Whether you're in Asia, whether you're in the US, whether you're in Europe, whether you're in Africa or South America or wherever. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what religion you are. It doesn't matter your politics. Bringing kind of the world together to coordinate on this like new market structures. Ultimately a big part of what's happening here. And I think that's like a really important lens to view these things through. And so I think that's probably maybe the most important thing.
Yeah. And do you think we're going to see 1 billion people in crypto?
I think we'll definitely see 1 billion people in crypto. I mean, I think right now what we are really focused on is getting to the starting line in a bunch of places around the world. Yeah. So unlike, I think, a lot of like decentralized products, right? Yeah. Where you're owned by no one and you're operated by everyone, at least in theory. We're a centralized exchange. And so because we've gone this compliance route, when we want to open up the product in different parts of the world, whether it's Japan, whether it's Europe, whether it's the US, we go through this long, rigorous licensing process before we could even get to the starting line to be able to compete on the product. And so I think for us, the single most important and most impactful thing for growth and for bringing people into the product and into crypto boils down to, getting licenses around the world and being able to offer the product. So that's one thing that we're really just focused on a ton right now. Obviously one of the, big reasons why I moved to Japan is because, Japan's like a really important market and it's an awesome place to visit and live, a really incredible crypto native population and culture over there. But we're serious about doing this thing right. And so, we moved to go through the regulatory process there. So I think that's like, sorry, I'm coughing up a storm right here because my voice is dead from the conference, but like really unlocking regions around the world is like the really hard thing that we're doing. That's really underappreciated because most crypto companies don't do this. Even most centralized exchanges didn't do this, right? Most centralized exchanges, when they started, were kind of in the Wild West days, right? Well, we're still kind of in the Wild West days, but it was even way more back then. People didn't KYC. They just served folks all around the world. And then things were so new that, it was okay, or for some definition of okay. I think for us, we can't do that. And we have to do it right. We have to dot every I, we have to cross every T. And so it's a lot more work. It's a lot more time. It's a lot more money for us to even get started, which I think, ultimately it's like running with a parachute right now. And, you might be slower in the beginning, but eventually, you have that parachute and that's what allows you to fly. And I think kind of that's the way we view it. And that's kind of where our focus is at the moment.
Yeah. You also, like, it's a bit back, but you also mentioned before that, like, you want to bring in the decentralized values to Backpay. What are those values you bring along?
Yeah, so I think there's the wallet side, the exchange side, and then there's the combination of both of them. I think on the exchange side, I think there's a couple things. So I think, firstly, it's just like doing everything, I think, I would say with, doing everything right? I think you could ask me any question about the exchange, and I think I will answer it, and I will stand by every decision that we've made, because I think we've dotted every I, we've crossed every T, and I think it's fair to say we've built the thing right. I think a lot of people view exchanges, centralized exchanges in particular, as like these opaque beasts where there's tons of secrecy. Nobody knows exactly what's going on behind the scenes. We like to think of ourselves as the exact opposite of that. And I think that comes, or that's like an embedded into every part of the product, whether it's on the engineering side and how we built the thing, building the thing to be verifiable kind of from the beginning. Whether it's working with, external kind of third-party auditors. We're working with a team right now, shout out to Otter Security, to do zero knowledge proofs on the reserves. Whether it's the compliance side and doing things right there, where kind of, we want to build high integrity, high trust, financial institution that the world can use. And that is, really important to do right if you want to, actually contribute kind of to the broader kind of world. I think on the wallet side, I think it's all about self-custody, right? And it's all about how do you solve these problems while preserving self-custody. And if you don't have self-custody, then kind of a lot of what we're doing here, it's ultimately like we're reinventing traditional finance. And self-custody is really what makes the industry special. And so ultimately the question is, how do you solve the wallet problems while preserving self-custody? And I think it turns out you can, if you combine the exchange and the wallet in a really kind of interesting way, where, I can look at you straight in the face and say, you could have a centralized exchange user experience where you log in, email, password, 2FA, you're in, but you also have your wallet. And you can even have your ledger still, but the experience is that of a centralized exchange. But you can connect to any dApp. If the exchange goes down, it runs out of business, it rugs you, you can always exit and get your money unilaterally as long as you have access to your ledger and as long as you have access to an internet connection, a terminal, and a validator. And I think that is really kind of the way I think where I'm coming from when I say that, because I think a lot of people try to solve this problem by taking shortcuts, right? By just introducing centralization and just saying, trust me, bro, that's a great product. The decentralization part doesn't really matter. But maintaining self-custody is paramount.
Yeah.
I think I try to think about these things like fundamentally, like why does this matter, right? I think the big thing between the difference between the wallet and the exchange is the wallet is all about custody, and the exchange, namely on the trading side, is all about risk, as I said earlier.
Yeah.
And so I think each one of those products leans into both of those like very strict requirements in their own unique way, where the wallet's all about minimizing custody risk, and the exchange or the trading product is all about minimizing trading risk.
Yeah.
And then, you know, everything else is kind of really coming from the perspective of like, well, let's actually build a proper financial institution with all this product coming together.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, why, you know, KYC matters. That's why licensing matters. That's why, you know, building a, you know, on and off ramps and a broker dealer and all these things start mattering a bunch. And it's not until you have all of these things kind of coming together that you can actually start telling the story of reimagining what finance looks like.
Yeah.
And if you take any shortcut on any of these things, then you're really just rebuilding what already exists, probably in a worse way.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of how I view it.
What I'm curious on listening to you speaking right now is, whenever you're having a work day or you're busy with Backpack Exchange, what kind of work makes you the most happy? It may be a tough one, but what do you enjoy doing the most?
I think there's a couple things. I think the thing that makes me the most happy right now, this is very much.
Would it be more the technical side, or would you say it's more the managing part?
I love the technical side of things. You can get lost in code. I think ultimately I want to do the thing that has the most impact for the business. And right now, I think the thing that gives me the most satisfaction is like seeing folks, whether it's in the company or in the community, like start like growing into like leadership roles where I don't have to think about things anymore. And I can like put a lot of trust into people to like take ownership and do things better than I ever could. And I think that's a big part of like building a company is like really like growing other people in addition to just, you know, doing the things that you want to do. And there's all the stuff around like, you know, making your users happy and stuff like this. And that gives me an enormous amount of satisfaction for sure. But I think the biggest thing is just definitely, you know, the people around me in the company in particular that are, you know, as responsible for everything that we're doing as I am.
So they're growing into roles which you used to do, and now they might even do it better than you were actually able to do it.
In most cases, better.
Yeah. Wow. All right. And to nearly wrap this up, let's say we're sitting here in 5 years. Where would you like Backpack to be at that point? How do you see Backpack in the future? And
I would love to be able to look at you straight in the face and tell you, or for you to have already made Backpack your primary financial services provider, right? It should be the safest and the most secure version of, it's not quite a bank, it's not quite a brokerage, it's this other thing where not only do you feel comfortable having your money there and you feel like that's like the safest place for your money, but also it's the place with the most opportunity where you can do the most with it. Whether you want to connect to any crypto economy, whether you want to pay your friends, whether you want to buy a house, whether you want to invest for retirement, or whether you want to, you know, send your money back to your traditional bank account or whatever. Ultimately, I think what we're trying to do is build a home for your money and do that in a way that I think can not only push the industry forward, but also, you know, reimagine traditional finance in its own right.
Wow. So so hopefully we can sit here in 5 years or 10 years and say, you know what, nearly everyone is using Backpack as their go-to exchange, so to speak. Now, we talked about quite a bit here. Are there still some things that you'd say, you know, people need to know this about me or about Backpack? Or because I mean, we've all heard about Backpack, I think, at this time. Are there still some things that you say, you know what, people need to know more about this or about yourself, for example? Or do you think we've covered it all? Do you have anything, Fritz, that you wanted to?
Yeah, I've one final question. So let's say there are.
I was thinking, I was not ignoring your question.
No, I get it. I get it. But I was thinking then Fritz can already sort of come up with the final one.
So for let's say users or people that are listening to the podcast and they're, hey, I want to know everything about Backpack. I want to start trading there.
I want to know about you, perhaps.
Yeah.
That's,
where can they go? What should they do?
Honestly, I think Twitter is probably the best place. Twitter and probably our Discord as well. I think I kind of pathologically online, and I think maybe it's fair to say I'm more or less an open book, and you can ask me kind of anything, and I'll talk about it there, for better or worse, to the detriment of my partner, I think. Yeah, Twitter is probably the best place. Twitter, Discord. Yeah. Anything you want to know, I'm generally tweeting it out, and you can kind of get everything from there.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Got it. All right. Then let's wrap this one up. I want to say a big thanks to everyone that's been listening. If you enjoyed watching this episode, please leave a like, subscribe to the channels, and also leave a comment what you thought of this. Now, Armani, I want to say a big thanks to you as well. We appreciate you coming by. I think we've covered quite a bit, and we're very excited to see what Backpack is going to do in the near future and also in the coming 5 years. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.